Welcome back, everyone. When the requests came in for this deep dive and goat milk was right there at the top of the list, I gotta say, I was a little surprised.
Really?
Yeah, I love cheese as much as the next person, but I hadn't really given much thought to goat milk itself.
It's interesting how certain foods just slip under the radar, isn't it?
Totally. And the thing is, after digging into the research, I'm realizing there's way more to this than I ever expected.
Oh, absolutely. And your curiosity really reflects a larger trend we're seeing globally.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
Well, for starters, people around the world are rediscovering goat milk, not just for its taste, but also for its potential health benefits and even its economic impact.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's start with a global perspective. When we think of milk production, most people probably think of cows, right?
Right. It's easy to assume that.
But get this,
Yeah,
the #1 producer of goat milk in the world is India.
it's true. And it really highlights how diverse the world of dairy production actually is.
So it's not just a fun fact. It actually means something.
Exactly. This points to bigger shifts happening, especially in Asia, including India, where we're seeing a real surge in goat milk production.
So what's driving this surge? Is it just that people prefer the taste of goat milk?
Well, taste is definitely a factor for some, but there's more to it than that. It's also about changing dietary needs, cultural preferences, and economic opportunities.
Okay, so it's like a snapshot of these larger global changes happening.
Precisely. In many developing nations, raising goats can be more sustainable and accessible than raising cows, especially for smaller farmers.
That makes sense. Goats are definitely smaller and probably a bit easier to manage.
Exactly. They're often better suited to the climate and resources available in certain regions. Plus, they require less land and water compared to cows.
So it's fascinating to see how something like goat milk production ties into these larger global trends.
Absolutely. And speaking of goat milk, let's talk about what makes it so unique from a nutritional standpoint.
Yeah, let's get into the nitty-gritty of why goat milk is making a comeback. I've heard it's really good for you.
It really is. Nutritionally, it's fascinating. One of the biggest differences between goat and cow milk is the actual structure of a milk itself.
Okay, you're going to have to break that down for me. I'm picturing myself back in chemistry class trying to remember what milk is even made of.
Okay, so think of it this way. Goat milk has smaller fat globules compared to cow's milk.
Fat globules. Those are like the little droplets of fat in the milk.
Exactly. And because they're smaller in goat milk, it means it's generally easier to digest.
That makes sense. Smaller pieces,
Mm.
easier to break down. It's like the difference between trying to eat a whole steak versus cutting it into bite-sized pieces.
That's a great analogy. And this is a big deal, especially for people with sensitivities to cow's milk or for infants who might be more prone to digestive issues.
So this easier digestion, it's not just about comfort. It could actually have a real impact on people's health.
Absolutely. Especially in parts of the world where goat milk is a primary source of nutrition, even for babies, that easier digestion can make a big difference.
That's incredible. So we've got smaller fat globules that make it easier to digest. What else is going on in goat milk, nutritionally speaking?
Well, it's also naturally rich in certain vitamins and minerals. For instance, goat milk packs a greater punch of potassium compared to cow's milk.
And potassium, that's important for.
Potassium is crucial for healthy muscles and plays a role in maintaining proper blood pressure.
Okay, so that's not something to overlook. Are there any other standout nutrients in goat milk?
It's also a great source of vitamin A, even more so than cow's milk.
And vitamin A, that's good for.
Among other things, vitamin A is essential for healthy vision, a strong immune system, and even cell growth and development.
Okay, so we're talking about some pretty essential functions here. Like goat milk is giving your body this extra boost.
Exactly. And these nutritional differences, they really start to paint a picture of why goat milk is gaining so much attention lately.
It's like, it's not just milk, it's like this supercharged drink or something.
Huh.
And we're just getting started, right? There's more to this goat milk story than just the nutrition facts.
Oh, absolutely. Just wait until we dive into the potential health applications of goat milk. That's where things get really interesting.
Health applications. Now, this is where I think things get really interesting for a lot of people, myself included. So what's the deal with goat milk and our health?
Yeah.
What does the research actually say?
Well, let's start with one of the most promising areas, allergies.
Okay, yeah, I was just about to ask you about that.
Oh,
Yeah, you always hear people talking about goat milk formula for babies with allergies. Like, it's supposed to be easier on their systems, but I've always wondered if there's really any solid research to back that up?
That's a great question, and actually, there's been growing interest in this area. While more research is always being done, some studies suggest that goat milk might be less likely to trigger those same allergic reactions we see with cow milk, particularly in children.
Interesting. So is that because of those smaller fat molecules we were talking about earlier?
That's part of it. The smaller fat molecules, along with different types of proteins found in goat milk, seem to make it gentler on digestion and potentially less irritating to the immune system.
Fascinating. So the same thing that makes it easier to digest might also make it easier on the immune system when it comes to allergies. Makes you wonder what other connections researchers are finding.
Right. It's pretty amazing. For instance, there's research being done on goat milk's potential in helping treat malabsorption syndrome.
Malabsorption syndrome.
Yeah, it's a condition that affects how your body absorbs nutrients from food.
Oh, wow. That sounds pretty serious.
It can be, but what's interesting is that goat milk seems to be easier for some people with this condition to digest and absorb those essential nutrients, especially fats.
So if someone's body isn't absorbing nutrients well from other sources, goat milk might be a way for them to actually get what they need.
That's the idea researchers are exploring. It could be a real game changer for people with malabsorption.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. What other health benefits are on the horizon? What else are researchers looking into?
Well, beyond those areas, there's growing interest in goat milk's potential anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties.
Anti-inflammatory and antioxidant.
Yeah.
Now we're talking serious health benefits.
Right. And the key here is that both inflammation and oxidative stress are linked to so many chronic diseases we see today.
Okay, so we're talking about potentially protecting against things like heart disease, even cancer.
Exactly. Now, it's super important to remember that more research is needed to determine exactly how goat milk might play a role in these conditions, but the initial findings on its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant potential are certainly promising.
It's like opening up this whole new world of possibilities. Okay, so allergies, digestion, potential anti-inflammatory effects. Anything else?
You know, there's one more interesting area I wanted to touch on. Platelet counts.
Platelets, those are the tiny cells in our blood that help with clotting, right?
You got it. They're crucial for healing and preventing excessive bleeding.
Okay, so how does goat milk fit into all of this?
Well, researchers are finding that goat milk might actually help improve platelet counts in some cases.
Wow, so that could be a game changer for people with certain medical conditions or those recovering from illness or surgery.
Exactly. And it just goes to show you how diverse the potential benefits of goat milk really are.
I'm with you on that. We started with allergies, and now we're talking about digestion, inflammation, even blood clotting. It's pretty mind-blowing how many areas goat milk could potentially impact.
I know, right? It really highlights how much we still don't know about the food we eat and its potential.
Absolutely. Feels like we've only just scratched the surface of what we're learning about goat milk and all its possibilities.
And speaking of scratching the surface, this takes us back to India's role as a leading producer. It's not just a fun fact. It actually presents both opportunities and challenges when we start looking closer.
Oh, in what way? Okay, so we've got India, this major player in goat milk production, and all these potential health benefits we've been talking about.
Yeah.
You'd think it'd be a perfect recipe for, well, success, but you're saying there are challenges.
Right. It's not quite as straightforward as it might seem. One of the biggest hurdles is actually getting the milk from the goats to the people who need it.
Oh, interesting. So what's the issue?
Well, a lot of it comes down to infrastructure, or rather, the lack of it. In many rural parts of India, where a lot of these goats are being raised, there just aren't organized milk collection systems in place.
So you've got all this valuable goat milk, and it's not even making it to the market.
Exactly. It's a huge loss, both for the farmers and for the people who could be benefiting from the milk.
So what can be done about that?
Well, awareness is another big factor. Many people in India still aren't fully aware of all the potential health benefits of goat milk we've been discussing. They might be used to cow's milk or plant-based alternatives, so there's work to be done in educating consumers about goat milk's unique properties.
That's so interesting. You'd think with all these potential health benefits, people would be lining up to get their hands on goat milk.
Right. And the other big challenge is the way goat milk is priced. Currently, it's mainly determined by its fat content, which, as we've learned, is only a small part of the picture.
It's like judging a book by its cover when there's a whole story inside, right?
Exactly. All those amazing nutrients and potential health benefits, and the price is mainly based on one factor. So there's a real need to reassess how we value goat milk and take into account its full nutritional profile.
It sounds like there are definitely challenges, but are there any solutions in the works?
Absolutely. People are starting to recognize these issues and are working on ways to overcome them. One approach is focusing on breed improvement.
Breed improvement, like breeding goats that produce more milk.
Precisely. By selectively breeding goats with higher milk yields, they can make goat farming more profitable and sustainable, especially for those smaller farmers we talked about earlier.
Makes sense. If you can make goat farming more profitable, it's more likely to thrive. What other solutions are being explored?
Well, there's also been a push for creating dairy cooperatives, particularly in regions like Maharashtra and Kerala, where they've seen some success with this model.
Dairy cooperatives, those are like groups of farmers working together, right?
Yeah, exactly. These cooperatives help bridge the gap between small-scale goat herders and the larger market. They assist with collecting, processing, even marketing and distributing the milk.
So they're creating a more organized and efficient system.
Precisely. And this is key because it ensures those smaller producers get fair prices for their goat milk. And more importantly, it helps get that milk into the hands of people who want it.
So it's a win-win situation. Farmers benefit, consumers benefit.
That's amazing.
It sounds like even though there are challenges with goat milk production, there are also people working hard to overcome them and create a brighter future for this industry.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this whole deep dive so fascinating, don't you think? We've gone from being surprised by goat milk to uncovering this whole world of nutrition, global trends, and economic opportunities. Who knew there was so much to discover about something as seemingly simple as goat milk?
I know, right? When we started this deep dive, I thought I'd be walking away knowing a little bit more about goat milk's benefits. I never imagined we'd be talking about global trends, economic development, and the future of food systems. It's amazing how one topic can lead to so many fascinating discoveries.
It really is. And that's the beauty of curiosity, isn't it? It takes us to unexpected places and broadens our understanding of the world around us. So, as you continue exploring the world of goat milk, here's something to ponder. Could goat milk become a more prominent part of diets worldwide? And if so, what impact could that have on our health, the environment, and the global economy?
Those are some great questions, and I have a feeling we'll be hearing a lot more about goat milk in the years to come. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of goat milk, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more fascinating explorations into the topics you're curious about. Until next time, keep those curiosity wheels turning.